Alright, we are back, and we have Monkey Warlock. Here's the current situation. I wish I had had a chance to explain my previous turn. We kind of skipped one, but that's okay. Basically what happened in the previous turn is I had my chieftain over here, or over here, and he was going to be sniped down, so I got him out of the way, and I pre-meted him, and I got everything over here, and I left my shaman here on purpose because I was hoping that he would blow it up. And he did, and this is now... And now he has given me the opening that I need. I don't know if this is a winnable situation at all, but this is exactly what I had planned if he gave me this opportunity. And I just blew up his entire army. He's got like nothing left except for respawn tokens, which is a little scary, unfortunately. But this chieftain had to do like crazy amounts of damage, and yeah, that qualifies. So we'll see how he chooses to play this out. Like, I'm not sure this is enough damage to necessarily win me the game, but this is absolutely how it had to play out for me. The only thing I want to hold off on is maybe if I wave, it'll be better. Like, maybe it's possible to do more damage even, but I'm not sure. Yeah, no, that's going to save the medic. I think not. I think we found our move. We'll see how he reacts to that. Again, like it's basically a forced move. I don't know if it's going to be enough for me to win, but it's literally the only option I have to get myself back in the game, so I just have to take it. I absolutely have to take it. Yeah, so that's exciting. We'll see. I still don't know if it's enough, but now the game gets exciting. So I think Dr. Doom is asking me what are my thoughts on pre-scrolling. Generally, it's fine. But so I think that if I had been playing as you, if we had switched spots in this game, you kind of gave up your ninja a while ago, and ninjas are like the absolute best thing for killing shadows, because you basically scroll them and you sword them and you stick them in the corner, and the moment you get any unit near the shadow, you swap, you run over, you smack them, and then you stomp them. And that's basically how you win against Shaolin as council. But you, I did Bird Dragon on your ninja, which it was a +0 ninja too, so it wasn't that great a trade for me. But that to me is how you want to be pre-scrolling in this matchup, especially if you're hunting a shadow. The biggest problem with pre-scrolling in a situation like this is if you only have one offensive threat on the board, as soon as you pre-scroll it, that offensive threat basically now cannot attack anything other than a high value target. And so even though, yeah, your archer can suddenly do a lot more damage in one attack now, it can't, like, I've got this poisoner just kind of sitting out here in no man's land, totally vulnerable to this archer, but because you pre-scrolled it, you can't really afford to burn a scroll on a poisoner at this point in the game, because you need to save it for the shadows and probably this monk. So it's actually, it's just a little ironic that it actually has made me safer by you deploying your offense in that manner. And so what I would recommend in the future is, if you're going to pre-scroll in a situation, make sure you have a second offensive threat on the board. So, because you have the items for it, you have the sword and you have like a helm. So whether you decide to scroll whether the sword and helm the wizard or the other archer, I would have waited until you had that second unit out on the board and sworded and helmed up, and then that pre-scroll becomes dangerous because I still have to worry about that. I still have to respect the threat of your other powerful attack unit. So I can't be doing nonsense like sticking that poisoner out in the middle of nowhere because your other offensive unit is just going to clean it up instead. And then I have to hide my powerful units, and I can't be aggressive either. So then it becomes really powerful, but I think you kind of pulled the trigger a bit too early on it in this game. But it still could work out for you because you have the right idea. Like you need to kill this shadow. You see, you have the right idea, but it could have been a little stronger had you played it a little bit differently. So that's something to think about for future matchups. But as for what I'm going to do, so I made sure that I could take out this knight last turn, and I'm okay with getting rid of this monk because I'm trading a +1 for a +2, and this also exposes the cleric, and I may force this archer to burn the scroll on the monk, otherwise it's not going to die, and I'm just going to get that knight for free. So, it's pretty much my only option. Once this game is over, I'll give you some more general feedback, Dr. Doom, because you play this game a little interestingly, and I think that you're like a little inexperienced with Hero Academy in general, and like you have like a really good strategic grasp of things. There's like one or two things that I think that if you gain a little more experience with, you'll really be able to take your play to the next level. Yeah, you're like you have the potential to be like a really, really high level player, and I think with just like a little experience, a little tweaking of your approach, you'll get there. Because like in my opinion, you've turned this game, which you had like, at least in my opinion, like an insurmountable advantage, into one that I actually have like a legitimate chance of winning, and it didn't have to be that way. And so it's just like that killer instinct, I think, that you kind of gain by playing a ton of games and knowing when to really go for it and play aggressive, can take your game a long way. But we'll talk about it once this game's done, because it seems like hopefully we'll get it done in today's cast, or if not, then we'll do it by the end of the stream. You said you wanted to do Dark Elves versus Dwarves, so we can get that going, and then we can kind of swap turns between the games. All right. So as far as Dark Elves go, this is a pretty crappy opening, especially against Dwarves. Necros are basically fodder, and I mean, at least I got a priestess out, like that's nice, but my plan is put these on the board. I can't even like mean, I just have to hope I get some units here. Units! Void Monk, give me a Void Monk. Okay, Impaler, that's not too bad. Get an Impaler at least, that's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna start a. Actually, let's go over. Let's have a nice little talk about. Let's have a nice chat about Dark Elves. So let's go through the team here. So Dark Elves, their racial ability is when they do damage to their opponents, they heal. The unit that does the damage heals the life. If that particular unit has taken damage, it'll get its life back while it attacks. So it makes it very important playing against Void Monks that you have to you can't just leave units at like half health. You can't leave enemy units at half health lying around the board, because as those half health units do damage to you, they'll gain their health back, and it'll end up being very AP efficient for them. Let's go through the units. So the Void Monk. Void Monk is... do I have a Void Monk lying around somewhere? Yeah, so let's look at the Void Monk. So let's look at a vanilla Void Monk. Vanilla Void Monk has 800 HP, 200 physical damage, got 20/20 on both the physical and the magic resist. It can move a long way. It's got three movement range, but can only do one range attacks. It also does splash damage. So the splash damage is in a what is the shape? It's like the it's 3. So let's take this Void Monk here, okay? So if this Void Monk attacks a unit, like if my Wraith were here, it would do splash damage to this square. It would do splash damage to this square, and it would do splash damage to this square. So basically, it is splash damage, and it really helps if the other unit is clumped up, especially if they're clumped up deep in their territory and they've got a lot of units packed together. The Void Monk is the Siege Breaker. It also is the Crystal Breaker if the opponent has kind of turtled around the crystal. If the enemy unit's like blocking here, here, and here, you bring the Void Monk here and attack this unit, some of the damage will splash through the crystal and you'll be able to break stameleys that way. The Void Monk is really the powerhouse of the Dark Elves. Those resists are really, really strong. 20 and 20 make it very, very difficult to bring down, and combined with a lot of the other mechanics of the Dark Elves, in most of the matchups, the Void Monk is going to be your staple unit that you're going to want to spend a lot of your items on, and you're going to want to spend a lot of your focus around doing damage and threatening offensively with the Void Monk. But we'll go into like how to use the Void Monk once we get through all the units. The Impaler. Impaler is here's an Impaler. This one has so it's got 800 HP standard. Does the 300 physical damage unit. So it's the high damage output unit of the Dark Elves, and it's got no resist. And what it does is it's got 2 attack range and 2 movement range, and if it attacks a unit either horizontally or vertically 2 squares away, not diagonally though, but only horizontally 2 squares away. So if I was attacking with this Impaler, a unit on this square or this square would get pulled in 1 square closer to the Impaler. So if I attacked a unit here, it would be pulled here, and if I attacked a unit here, it would be pulled here. So this allows you to manipulate enemy positions, and also can become a Siege Breaker by pulling units to either away from enemy healers, or onto train tracks, or within range of necromancers, or I think that's actually just pretty much it. But it's pretty nice. And also when they get the sword, they have 450 damage output. The problem is that they're squishy, and that physical defense is going to stay at 0 because Dark Elves have no way to. Excuse me. Dark Elves have no way to increase that physical defense, which is one of the prime weaknesses of the Dark Elves that we'll talk about a little bit in detail later on. Oops, I'm messing up here. Okay, the Necromancer. The Necromancer is a another 800 HP unit, 200 magical damage. Again, no resists, 3 attack range and 2 movement range. And their special ability is that if they are in range, within 3 range of a KO'd unit, any KO'd unit, friendly or enemy, they can turn it into a phantom. And a phantom is a little dude, and he has 100 HP, 100 damage. He's range 3, attack 1, not very good, but you can stop at range 3 and you create a unit that blocks line of sight. It's annoying. They don't need to be stomped, so if you attack it, as soon as you take away the HP of the phantom, it dies without needing to be stomped, so you can't like revive it. It doesn't become like a permanent unit. But it's a nice way to stomp enemy units at 3 range, and it's the main damage. It's the main magic damage dealer of the Dark Elves, though it's not really that special. It's squishy. It's not that powerful. There's not really anything too special about it. So they tend to be fodder in a lot of matches. Really, the only match where they're supremely useful is against Tribe, because Tribe doesn't have really any magic resist, and so that becomes useful. They are also good for sitting on attack tiles, because with that range 3, they can kind of zone out a lot of units that would otherwise want to wander in close. But the really map position, not so much damage dealing, not so much going to want to put units on them, but sticking them around the map so that if you KO units elsewhere, you can stomp them at range 3 while keeping your other units back is really what they're used for. Next unit is the Priestess. The Priestess is the Dark Elf healer, and Priestess again has 800 HP. It has 200 magic damage, which is the same as the Impaler. Range 2, move 2, no resists. The nice thing about the Priestess is that the Priestess can heal 3 tiles away. So most healers in the game can only heal within a range of 2, but the Priestess has a range of 3, so it can cover a lot of ground. So, for example, in this game, I've got all my Priestesses on the back line here, and even though these Priestesses are basically as far away from the action as possible, their healing range can heal any unit between here, 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 and here. Anything behind these squares, I'm basically like, I can heal anything on my half of the board. Basically, anything on my half of the board, I can heal with these Priestesses in basically the farthest back position that they can possibly get. So the range is very, very powerful, and it allows them to really stay, even though they're squishy, it allows them to stay in the back and still be able to accomplish, the healing they need to do. The other interesting thing about the Priestess is that when they attack, one second, Monkey Warlock said something, so I'm interested to see what he thought about that. I think I caught him off guard. We'll see. Good, he didn't expect my trap, so I'm not toast yet. Sorry for that distraction. I care a lot about that game. That game is pretty epic. You don't get to see the top 2 Hero Academy players go at it, or at least 2 of the top. We're top 2 in the league right now. I wouldn't say that we're like top 2 ever, but we're up there for sure. So you don't get much games that are higher quality than that. So anyway, back to Dark Elves. So we were talking about the Priestess. So the one other thing that the Priestess can do is when the priestess does attack, now the priestess can heal to 3, but the priestess can only attack 2 squares away. But what the priestess does is the priestess applies a debuff when it attacks that reduces the damage of that enemy's next attack by half. So if I were to move this priestess up here and hit this void monk, it would leave this purpley debuff that would reduce its next attack to be 150 damage. Now, priestesses are supposed to be on the back line, so you don't see it come into play very often. But the one niche use for this priestess debuff is if the opponent pre-scrolls a unit, especially council. But it can also be tribe with like the pre-meeting. Those are really the 2 scenarios. And actually, against other Dark Elf players, if they pre-scroll, if you put that debuff on there, basically you're taking the potency of the scroll attack down by half. So it's not quite a wasted scroll because it's still going to be about 1.5 times the normal damage, but you significantly weaken the potency of that scroll. So if you find yourself in with the opportunity to attack a pre-scrolled unit with a priestess, you can really negate the power of that scroll just with that one move, and a lot of players will forget about that because you don't see it very often, but sometimes that opportunity will arise and you just gotta run in there. It's the same thing with the Taoist as Shaolin. The Taoist can dispel the scroll. It's the same thing. Like you always forget about the healers coming up and whacking your scrolled units in the face because it just seems so silly. But if you forget about it, or if your opponent forgets about it, you can burn them with that move. And the last unit is the Wraith. Now the Wraith is funky. He's got a lot of mechanics. So let me go over this in detail because he's a complicated unit. So first of all, summoning the Wraith. So the Wraith can be played like a normal unit from your deploy tile. He also has a special method of deployment. And that special method of deployment is you can basically drop him on a corpse. On a KO'd but not stomped unit, friendly or enemy. So essentially, you have a range 3 stomp if you have a Wraith in your hand at any given point in time. Because you can deploy it on an enemy unit that you KO'd, and it will stomp it, and it will deploy the Wraith at the same time. This can also be really useful if you're diving a powerful unit into like a heavily defended area, and you're taking out a high value unit, but the opponent has like a second high value unit that could kill yours. If you use the Wraith to stomp the enemy that you've taken out with your usually like sorted unit, then what you do is not only will you block line of sight to your powerful unit by blocking with the Wraiths, you're